What's wrong? Good. We're good?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Directors meeting for the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency. We're at Fredonia Technology Incubator, 214 Dunkirk, New York, in the first floor conference.
That's some echo. Good? You're not, we good?
I won't read that a third time, twice. Is more than enough. So we'll have a roll call. Gary Henry is here. Rhonda Johnson. Here. Stephen Thorpe. Here. Sagan Sheffield Smith. Here. Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Dan DeMart. Here. Welcome. You should have already received the minutes from the February 28th, 2023 meeting. Did anybody have any comments on the minutes? Did we have a motion to accept the minutes? Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll start new business by welcoming our new board member.
Yes, so I'd like to welcome Dr. Dan DeMart to our board. He fills the final vacancy that we've had. He was appointed, or there was a resolution last week at the legislature meeting appointing him to the board. So I'll read a little bio about Dan if he wants to say a few things. Dan DeMart has served as the president of Jamestown Community College since July 2018. He has 30 years of experience in community colleges and previously held leadership positions at Tidewater Community College, Virginia, Macomb County College, Missouri. He holds a doctorate degree from North Carolina State University and a master's and undergraduate degrees from the State University of New York. He began his college education at the Community College of the Air Force while serving on active duty. So welcome, Dan. You want to say anything? Yeah. One last thing. He's been doing a great job over at JCC with especially the workforce development stuff. I shook things up a little bit. I'm really doing great work. I'm really grateful to all of you for us.
Welcome. Next, we'll move into our 2022 audit. And Dave and Justin, are you going to present that for us?
We are. Thanks for having us. I would just kind of lead off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Justin. Tell you a little bit about the process. There's a lot that goes into this document that's in front of you, and it kind of starts actually with a meeting with your audit committee and management prior to us commencing our work. So I think back in January, we met with Sagan and Gary and Mark and Kayla and Rich, and really talked about some of the things that are going on with the IDA financially, and that helped us kind of set the roadmap for what we were going to do as far as our audit. We had some real nice discussions, talked a little bit about some of the major activity that we had in 2022. And then we went ahead and did our work. And last week, we reconvened with your audit committee and went through your draft audit report, pretty good detail, and talked about some of the highlights of the main topics with regards to this document. So certainly those individuals have a good understanding what's included in it. What our goal is today is to just give you a high level overview of the 2000 audit. And Justin's going to kind of walk us through some of the documents that we have for you. And certainly happy to cover them with.
So there should be three things in front of the board members who have them and the other individuals. First, I'm going to go to page 1 of the audit opinions, independent auditor's opinion. So it is a clean audit opinion. There is one paragraph in the middle of it called emphasis of a new accounting matter announcement. This is related to what's called GASB 87, the government auditing pronouncement related to. So did have to record what was called a prior period adjustment to get that lease onto your books. So that what that does is for a long-term lease, and it's related to your BWB office space for long-term lease, an asset and a liability. They kind of offset each other, not exactly, but pretty closely. We discount the liability or the future payment. So those two items kind of wash, but there is a prior period adjustment on the financial. And that's what that emphasis in that paragraph is about. Other than that, a clean audit opinion. So that's the whole point of us coming out is to find that. Then pages 3 through 11 or 3 through 7, I think 3 through 7 are what's called the management discussion and analysis. And if you wanted, I'm not going to go page by page through that, but that is as far as direct somebody to the kind of clear, precise area to go read through to try to get a picture of what happened this year. That's where you would go to read through. And it's kind of in a narrative format. It talks about the changes in each of the funds and has some graphs showing the comparative information. But we'll go to page 8, talk a little bit about balance sheets, and then page 9 and so first the balance sheet. On page 8, you'll notice your quarter of the way down the page is the property, equipment, and now it says and right of use asset. That's where that GASB 87 asset we talked about is factored in. And you'll notice if you were to compare to last year's statement, there was no lease liability, and that's about 3/4 of the way down the page. There's a lease liability for about $800,000 matched with that. The two other things to bring up on the balance sheet, probably your notes. You have $8 million of notes receivable related to the EDA CARES Fund, and about $8 million in the LTEC fund. So I think last year you were about 6 at the EDA CARES. That issued about $2 million with the new loans this past year. And both those funds now are at the revolving stage. No new money is coming in. Loaned out all the additional money. The LTEC obviously has been in that stage for many years. And then the other thing, probably 3/4 down the page, under current liabilities, there's a line called unearned revenue. That is a large increase from the prior year. You have 1.8 million in the IDA column and about 1.6 million in the CREDC column. The IDA's column, that's really related to the North County industrial project. So you receive quite a bit of money from the county. You haven't really spent it yet. So it sits in unearned revenue. And as you spend that money, it'll be converted to revenue. And then similarly with the CREDC fund, that is a lot of the ARPA monies you receive. Same idea. As you spend it, that'll be converted into earned revenue. Page 9, your income statement. The big thing, just talking about bottom line, the IDA lost about $233,000 this year. A lot of that is decreases in admin fees. You had some larger projects that are starting to drop off. The grant income is actually up. There is some ARPA monies that were recorded under the IDA, not as much as the other fund, but there were some. And then because of that, your expenditures are up, your grant expenses up, kind of matching that fund dollar for dollar. Your general and administrative costs are up. Overall, leading to that decrease of $230,000. Your revolving loan fund and LTEC fund, those are both had positive 12 or 13,000 and 208,000 of revenues. Really at this point in time, that's just earning interest on the loans you have out there. That's really, for the most part, interest income coming in and those loan balances, the loan portfolio performance. EDA CARES Fund, that is revenue of $2 million this year. So that's, the way those loans, as they come in and they get issued out, it goes right into your bottom line as revenue and equity. and then you collect on that. So that really is the new loans that you issued out of the EDA here of money, the grant. Then CREDC had a bottom line of 288,000. So you have a lot of ARPA funds going in there, but as I said, that's in and out. You know, you spend the money, you receive the money. So that's kind of a wash. That doesn't really affect your bottom line, and that's really driving up the revenues and expenditures quite a bit over there. But you know, the one thing that does impact the bottom line there is what's called the Office of Community Renewal Grant, the OCR deferred loan, new loan. Part of that gets recognized as revenue, just like the EDA CARES when you issued a loan. So 367,000 of that 734 that was passed along to James advance. Half of it, 367, we recognize as revenue, and then we do reserve against all loans about 15%. That's why it's less than 700 reserve. I'm at 700. So that's really financial statement wise. That's, you know, big picture. Any questions?
I was just going to add to that. You know, obviously you have a huge portfolio. You talked a lot at your audit committee meeting. You had a really good year as far as collection. You know, there's a lot of loans, and there's this document really is a document that within the disclosures, like each and every loan that you provided is included in here and what the outstanding balance is. And if you were to compare that from last year's report to this year's report, you would see almost all, with just a very few exceptions, that there's payments that were made in accordance with their schedule for 2000. So a really good year as far as collections.
Then, you know, as Dave mentioned, there's the notes. There are a lot of good notes in there. There's notes on every single loan you have. There's a money you spent on that, how much and how much you spent. Really good to know. I'm gonna jump to the back. There's some supplemental schedules, some detailed schedules on CREDC, but I'm gonna go to page 32. The other two letters we're required to provide in relation to the audit. The first one is the government auditing standards letter. So since you're a quasi-government entity, you're required to follow the government auditing rules. That's a clean form letter, nothing to report there. So that, you know, that situation is a little bit more internal control focus of an audit. And then same with the uniform guidance. That's on page 34. That is because you received over 750,000 of federal revenues. We're required to perform what's called a single audit under uniform guidance. We tested actually every single one of your programs, kind of a weird situation and how all the programs fell. You know, we have to go through a checklist, and unfortunately, we had to test every single bucket. You know, sometimes we can get away with one or two programs. But we tested your EDA CARES fund. We tested the OCR monies, which, even though it comes from New York, is actually federally derived community block grant monies. And we also tested all the other money. So that letter on page 34 is letter as well. No issues with any of them. Any questions on the other letters? We do provide two other letters. One is labeled, we have audited the financial statements at the top. And this is what we call the audit committee letter, the governance letter. This is a clean letter as well. Nothing to report on this. It just talks about, you know, did we have any disagreements with management? Were we allowed access to all the information we needed? So it's just kind of reporting to you that it went. So that's that letter.
I was just going to mention another point of this letter is it talks a little bit about the estimates that are included in your financial statement. Primarily, you have two. One with regards to your depreciable assets. They're being depreciated over time. Well, that's an estimate. You know, we don't know exactly how long the useful life of your assets are, so that's an estimate. The other key estimate is you have a reserve for bad debts on your outstanding loans. And again, we had a lot of discussion about this within your audit committee meeting, and For the most part, your reserves are set around 15%. So, you know, I mentioned your collection rate was outstanding in 2022, and you might say, you know, is that 15% a good number, or is it too high or too low? And I think based on discussions, the environment that we're currently in, you know, everybody felt comfortable that still relatively new loans, particularly the EDA loans, and don't have a tremendous amount of history with regards to those. And there's just an environment that's a little bit sticky right now. So I think ultimately, I'm comfortable with that level of serving. Need to be a number. So just wanted to touch base on that as well.
And then the final letter that we provide, called our management letter. So these didn't rise, this is something that didn't rise to the level of the findings of the government auditing report or guidance, which is something we noticed, we may communicate that maybe an efficiency item or a best practice. The one thing we did notice on the grant reporting through the ARPA funds, it's not a federal requirement, but in the language of those grants that said that an annual report was due to the county, and that it's our understanding that that annual report was specifically on the ARPA fund grants was not completed. Their annual reports for some of the other tourism grants, things like that, you know, have been traditionally completed on an annual basis for the ARPA money. Those annual reports weren't.
And that's a tough one because there's a lot of throughout the year correspondence between the county and the IDA. Obviously, there's a relationship there, and so I think the intent of the reporting is what's the status of the project, how's it going, are there any issues? And my gut is like that's happening, but it seems like to get something read into writing, just to say, why is probably best practice. So,
We have a plan for that.
I was just, we just spoke on that recording.
Yeah, probably once you put together a little template, you can utilize that for any more architect grants to receive.
On the board members on those ARPA funds, both Mark and Nate have been working on them right along. So it's like they were both past IDA and county, so they kind of know the ins and outs of some of the reporting requirements that were kind of boilerplate. In the contracts necessarily follow through our letter.
If Mark writes himself a report, Kayla, that's not like talking to yourself, is it? Okay, I just want to make sure. Be different. All right.
I think the IDA, I mean, a lot of work and effort, a lot of moving parts for sure this year, as we mentioned, with the new standard, you know, the new tranche of EA funding and some of the other activity that you have with regards to the grants. But we appreciate all the efforts. A nice report for 2021.
I want to thank you and your staff too, Dave, very professional. We enjoy working with you guys, and big shout out to Kayla who did 95% of this. At one point I called Dave and said, Dave, my phone does work. I mean, no, I don't need to talk to you, Rich. So, but Kayla's done an amazing job here. And with the complexity with what Mark and Nate have been able to accomplish here with all these new grants and all the funding streams, my hat's off to them, and we'll track whatever you bring, right, Kayla? Bring it on. We'll track it all. So thanks.
Well, I thank you as well. You know, the Gatsby 87, you know, conversation was thrilling. You know, really enjoyed that. But you do a great job of, you know, explaining it in a way that we can all understand these things, even if, you know, we're not financial experts. And so do appreciate that. Certainly appreciate everybody on the IDA. It's a pleasure to be on the board when you know that the work's being done properly and it's all everything lines up and we can get a clean report. And so everybody's doing a great job. So very well done.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Justin.
I'd like to welcome the County Executive Wendell. Glad you could make it. Do you have anything you'd like to say this morning?
I apologize. It's farm season, I guess, so implements are all over the So, you know, obviously there's a lot of exciting things happening in and around the county, and I say this, you know, every month, just excited to see what opportunities have been afforded the county. And I think when you look at where we are as a county, the investment that's being made, front page of the paper today, you're looking at, you know, the IDA had $500 million worth of investment last year. You're looking at one company with $452 million in one project. So having said that, you know, that's great news for Chautauqua County. Those things happen when we're doing things right in Chautauqua County, when we are making, you know, inroads. We have a solid workforce. I think, can we improve? Certainly. You know, we all know the truth, but really excited to see and listen to what the IDA does every month. Hats off to you all for what you do. Our industry is investing in the future of Chautauqua County.
Yeah. We'll move into new business C, SL Sherman LLC, presented by Rosie.
Before you today, we have Solar Liberty Sherman and Solar Liberty Sherman 2 LLC. We received tax lease pilot applications for a total project of 9.625 megawatt AC solar farm located in Sherman, New York at 176 and 191 West Main Street, over approximately 34 acres. Worth noting that the majority of the project is located in the town and 17% of the project is located in the village. We did speak with the village mayor and the town supervisor, and they are both in favor of the project and agreed for us to move forward with considering a tax lease pilot application. The village did complete the seeker, which resulted in a negative declaration. Total project cost for SL Sherman is $6,603,000 and SL Sherman 2 is $7,100,000, with a total project cost of $13,703,000. I see Nathan is on. Do we have Adam on as well?
Just Nate today.
Just Nate?
Yep, just Nathan.
Would you be able to discuss the project with us? On the visual mitigation as well as any decommissioning bonds for the projects?
Definitely.
I apologize, Nathan, we can't hear you. Just one moment.
Wow, we're getting Nate.
Can I say something real quick before we jump into that? Last month I talked about pumping the brakes on solar projects and that this has been in the works for quite some time, well over a year. You may have read in the paper about the town and the village discussing annexation, and they figured all that out, and they come to an agreement on what that relationship will look like with the host agreement. That so I didn't want you to think that we are just opening things back up here. This is something that's been in the works.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's been a little bit choppy, so maybe it goes in and out from being able to hear you and not being able to hear you. So maybe I'll just jump into some of the project details.
Please, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So as Rosie mentioned, the project's located on West Main Street. That's where we'll install an access road that pretty much bisects the property. The system consists of approximately 24,000 solar modules. As Rosie mentioned, it's 9.625 megawatts. Along West Main Street, that is the north side of the array. So the modules will be facing the opposite direction towards Cornish Street. What's particularly nice about this project is the utility connection points aren't located on West Main Street, but they're actually on Cornish Street, right at the village's wastewater treatment facility. So from an aesthetics perspective, basically all of the wiring will be behind the modules within the center of the array, and then exit out towards the east, heading towards the wastewater treatment facility. At the same time, the village just approved the use of an agricultural fence, so an 8-foot tall agricultural fence, which will lend itself to the farmland that we're utilizing for this particular project. From an aesthetics perspective, we haven't included any visual screening from the system. It wasn't required at this point from the village. We are, part of our special use permit, however, is if there is glare or any modifications after the system's installed that the village would like to see, they have left it open for us to install any visual screening measures. From a decommissioning bond, we have if we were to install the system, or I'm sorry, decommission the system today, it would be approximately $319,000. And then we've highlighted that with a 2% escalation rate for years in 5-year increments in years 25, 30, and 35. At year 25, the cost is estimated at approximately $523,000. And at year 35, the decommissioning cost is approximately $638,000. And so this is a decommissioning bond that we worked with the village and their engineering firm to get a rate that they felt comfortable with a bond for.
Thank you, Nathan. Is there
One of the
any?
things I wanted to say, Rose, before questions, is that
Yes.
what excited us about this project initially was that the property that this solar farm will be located on is actually owned by the village. Village had some of their property that was part of their wastewater treatment. They actually went out and acquired another parcel adjacent to that. So not only will the revenues from the host agreement and the pilot or the taxing jurisdiction, revenue for leasing of the property will go to the taxing jurisdiction. So we thought that was a pretty cool way to, enhance your village and your town by bringing in revenue like that. I know of no other ones in the state that have done that. So I don't know, Nathan, if you've run across another one like that in your travels, but we're pretty excited about that here.
Yeah, no, this is really the first time that we've seen a municipality really push forward with a project like this. So the mayor has done an excellent job with spearheading this project.
Any questions for Nathan? No? Okay. We do have 2 due diligence resolutions that I will go ahead and have Millen discuss with the board.
First things first, I apologize to Dr. DeMart. He was not a board member when these were drafted. So the final version will have him on them and hopefully voting one way or another. You'll see that for all the resolutions today. I apologize, we're going to add those moving forward. These are a pair of typical due diligence resolutions. They authorize and instruct staff and council to investigate SECRA, publish a pilot deviation with all the solars we do deviate from your UTEP, and to investigate things like title and insurance and all the IDA documents, so that when and if we come back to you for a final approving resolution, everything is tied up in a nice, neat little bow. The only thing unusual about this project will be, as was mentioned before by Mr. Izzo, it's both in the town and in the village. So instead of having 2 pilots, one for each of the 2 projects, we're going to end up having 3. One for the one project that's in the town, and then another one that's in the village and the town. We'll split those up just to make the calculation a whole lot easier. And Rich and Rosie have done a spreadsheet of where we think that's going to be. So that's going to be the only thing unusual with this project. And that's it for the due diligence resolution.
As long as it makes it easier on me.
We'll work on that too.
Anda, would you move resolution C2?
Resolution 03-28-03-01, diligence resolution and agreement, SL Sherman LLC.
I think that should be 03/28/23. The record.
Should I read it again?
No, I think it's fine. We all know it is.
We have a second? Henry, aye. Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe, Megan Sheffield Smith, Dan Hetzenreiter, and Mark.
Get lots of opportunity to look there.
Move right into new business B, Solar Liberty Sherman 2 LLC, and presented by Rose.
So that was the same, same description, same project. Again, as Millen said, we had to split it based on locations.
D, would you move new business D2?
Resolution 03/823/02.
Henry goes aye. Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe, Megan Sheffield Smith, Dan Hetzenreiter, aye. Dan DeMark, aye. Approved.
Thank you, Nathan.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to getting this project constructed.
This is an exciting project, for the village and the town of Sherman. We all know with some of these small communities, taxes and fees are add up. So this is certainly an opportunity that's good for the whole community. So it's kind of exciting to be a part of. Next, we'll have new business E, Bemis Point Inn Restaurant, presented by Rose.
Thank you. Last spring, Bemis Point Inn approached us for a loan. They were one of the last customers we were able to assist with the EDA CARES Act. As a refresher, the Bemis Point Inn had approached the Small Business Administration for a loan. They were in the final process of signing documents, and then at the last minute, unfortunately, the SBA pulled out and advised that they had run out of funds. So Bemis Point Inn approached us for assistance along with their bank. We were able to assist them with a working capital and FF&E loan. Unfortunately, due to construction costs increasing and the inflation in eggs and bacon, the Millers were short, unfortunately, in some of their financing. So they've approached us for a second loan in the amount of $125,000 for working capital at an interest rate of 4%, 5 years, with the first 3 months interest only. So again, this is the same project we did last year. We're just looking to help them out a little bit more. Earlier this month, we did have a loan review committee meeting, and the loan review committee did recommend this for our approval.
Any questions?
I would just like to add that, the Bemis Point Inn had recently expanded to dinner. They also got their liquor license. Lori told us the other
Yes.
day she actually was going to serve 2 beers the other night because she finally got her liquor license. So the menu looks fabulous there. I would encourage everyone to go out and try it. Support them. So we're very excited about it.
And if you haven't had an opportunity yet, the pastries here, besides the donuts, are a gift from the Bemis Point Inn. So definitely enjoy those.
That should not influence your decision.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Are there any questions from the board? Okay.
Megan? Business.
Resolution 03/28. Act, RLF to use.
Aye. Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Thorpe. Megan Sheffield Smith. Dan Hetzenreiter. Aye. And DeMark. To do my due diligence, this with the whole committee, so I did go there for evening meal to check out the dinner menu. It's very good, so I can say, I'll turn that in. I don't know if I can get an expense. But it's
You'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you. And I just also quickly want to read just a thank you card. Thank you all so much for your help in the past, continued support, consideration for another loan. I cannot begin to tell you how much we all appreciate it. You're wonderful. Sincerely, Dave and Lori Miller. So it's important for us to remember on the IDA that a lot of times these businesses are struggling, they're in difficult situations. But they also have the opportunity to bring so much to our communities, whether it's the restaurants we enjoy or the jobs that we have. And it helps all of us when these businesses do well. And so it's exciting when we do have an opportunity to be a part of these businesses that are growing, employing more people and be involved with in our community. Continue with new business F, Chautauqua Lake Hospitality LLC, again, presented by Rose.
So at last month's board meeting, the board was presented with a due diligence resolution and agreement for Chautauqua Lake Hospitality LLC. Again, they are purchasing Hotel Lenhart and reimagining the hotel to something a bit more modern. Today, we are presenting the seeker resolution as well as the final approving resolution. And I do have Jill on Zoom, and then of course, Bill is here in person if the board has any questions. No? Okay. Well then, Millen, if you don't mind, I'll have you discuss the resolutions.
Sure, there are two resolutions. The secret resolution in your package, we've updated a little bit to describe the project a little bit more, including, that there's 40 guest rooms, the spa, the outdoor deck, the pool, the elevator. And we've also, in terms of the item number 9, the impact on aesthetic resources, talk about how the proposed project would fit in with the environment and the surrounding uses. So these are, first is the secret resolution, having gone through all those factors, and you'll see them enumerated. There's 18 specific factors that we've gone through with staff and the applicant, and we have come to the conclusion and can recommend to you that doing this project will not have any adverse impact on the environment. And the second resolution is the final approving resolution, which allows us to go forward and close with the applicant. The exemption from real property taxes is estimated to have a value of $431,262. There's a mortgage recording tax exemption of $62,500, and the sales tax is in the maximum amount of $332,263. So that's what is before you and subject to your approval. I think at the public hearing, there were no adverse comments. So
The transcript has been included in your packet with the questions that were asked during the public hearing.
I really can't express my appreciation and the magnitude. I was walking down to another event, Bemis, and somebody stopped and said, I need to introduce you to the new owners for Lenhart. So as we know, we keep these things quiet. So somebody's not with it. But I did meet Bill and Jill on the sidewalk. The Lenhart is one of the last remaining grand hotels of our Victorian era. When you look at things and pictures of Chautauqua County, the Lenhart was there. If any of you have stayed there and talked to people, the Lenhart has always been sold out on the holiday weekend with 4 floors, no air conditioning on the 4th floor, and high humidity in Chautauqua County. For people to stay there, there's an ambiance, and the modern amenities they want to add really bring to life, that Victorian hotel. So I know that we have an event this summer, and some people are coming in on the 4th of July weekend, and they're really eager to find out where it's, is the Lenhart up, but we need to find out. But just, and I've shared this with other people as well, the investment that they're making and the investment we make in Chautauqua County is going to pay back without that. This iconic landmark will stand the test of time for another 100 years. So again, really excited about the economic impact of tourism. This is one of those last remaining, bastions of our old days. People appreciate it, and again, hats off to Curry's for their investment. Really excited to see what this is going to turn into.
Yes, happy to move them both together.
And you move business F2 first.
Sure.
03-28-23-04. Seek for a resolution, Dog Lake Hospital. 03-28-05. Final approving resolution, Dog Lake Hospitality.
David votes aye. Smith. Dan Hetzerator. And Mark.
Thank you, Jill.
You're writing a new.
I'm
gonna hang.
Cummins
Not
Incorporated, presented by Carol.
Okay,
Thank you.
Excuse me. First of all, Cummins Inc. has a very exciting and aggressive project. And we have two guests here who are going to speak on the project for you. We have Sergio Hernandez, who is the controller, and Ryan Junior, who is in finance also. So I'm going to turn it over to them to speak on the project.
Carol. We're investing across our footprint to support our Destination Zero strategy, which Destination Zero is where we're trying to get to zero greenhouse gas reduction by 2050. The next generation engine portfolio is where our investment is, and our Jamestown engine plant is a critical piece of this long-term strategy. We're evaluating it for additional investment opportunities. And as part of this process, we're working with the IDA to understand what's available at this point in time. One of the things, our application speaks for itself. I've been mentioned that we're anticipating over the next 5 years, we do want to invest hopefully $451 million in that facility. Our facility is approaching 50 years old. It does need some infrastructure upgrades, which are typically taxable. That's why we're coming to the IDA to get those infrastructure sales tax exemption. A lot of our manufacturing investment is not typically taxable to begin with, but it is a big important part to anchor the amount of jobs that we have there. We need to continue to make sure we're the low cost producer. When they look at these investments, they do look across the globe, across all the Cummins entities, and we have to be cost competitive compared to them. So we're excited about it. We feel, this is a very beneficial partnership, and it's going to be something we can really land and take to the next level through this. And, we're asking for $3 million sales tax exemption for a lot of that infrastructure that we want to put in place to prepare for our next project, our products. And these products will essentially be our products that we produce for 2026 is what they really want. So I start making that investment now to be prepared for that time.
Okay, just technically, we had a transaction committee meeting on March 8th, which gave us the opportunity to do the due diligence on the project. The public hearing was yesterday, March 27th. And there are no comments to report on the public hearing. So at this time, if you have any questions for Ryan and Sergio, please ask. Otherwise, Ellen can go ahead with the resolution, the approving resolution. Any questions?
I'll make
Okay.
one comment, which is that we don't typically do transactions committee, but given sort of the speed that we wanted to get this done to meet Cummins's timing in terms of their publicity, et cetera, we went with the transactions. We bring it to you for preliminary and then a final. This is a combined resolution for secret purposes. This is type 2 because it is all purchase of machinery and some internal renovation. So by definition, this does not have an effect on the environment because it's the same use, all internal, no expansion, et cetera. So it's your resolution recites the fact that it's a type 2. And as was mentioned, this is approving up to $3 million in sales tax exemptions. There's no real estate tax or mortgage reporting tax exemption being requested. So it's sales tax only. And this is the final agreement resolution. If it's approved, we will move straight forward to documents. We've done other IDA transactions with Cummins before, so I don't anticipate any issues in terms of the draft documentation.
Rhonda, would you go ahead and give the resolution?
Resolution 03-28 3-06, final resolution, common.
In a second. Second. The Johnson. Or. Sheffield Smith. And Hudson Raider. Thank you. It's very, very exciting. We know these are very competitive, across not just the United States, but the whole world. So we're certainly thankful that Jamestown is being considered for this. Whatever we can to help with incentives and make it as competitive as we can. And it is a stable part of our county, and it's the largest private employer in our county. So we certainly appreciate all the work that you provide, and we look forward to expansion.
Okay, thank you, for here. Thank you for Rich, Carol, Mark, and then it's not we are excited for this investment, and then keep growing.
I'll just second that. I mean, professionalism, Rich and Carol have given us top-notch service. We are the biggest, but I mean, what's nice to hear is there's smaller entities that are getting the same type of treatment as well. So I mean, just appreciate that for what we have here.
Go ahead and move in with the executive director.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take much time here. Not a whole lot, stuff to report this last month, but I did wanna mention that, last week, County Executive Wendell gave his State of the County address, well done. We talked about a lot of different things, but, one thing that he, I think highlighted was economic development efforts, going on in the county and work that the IDA is doing. And so I'm really appreciative of that. The other thing is I wanted to mention that we've been talking about this for a while, but we're kicking off a talent attraction campaign. So, really just about every employer we go to, we ask, what is your biggest challenge? And they say, filling open jobs or attracting talent or retaining talent. And something that we recognized a while ago was that as we dug into it more, it's not an easy thing to figure out. It's a tough nut to crack, and it takes a lot of work. So, Nate and Jason and I and Monica, others have been really working on, how do we address this? So we put together funding from both the county and CREDC partnership to develop a scope of work to hire a consultant. And there are a lot of experts out there. I think we put out the RFP, we got 15 or so. 25 posts. And we chose a local firm out of Buffalo called Block Club. Block Club has a really good track record. They've done a lot of work in this space, and they're experts in how to develop a brand, how to push that out, how to really speak to the audience that you're trying to attract, how to sort of encapsulate what our attributes are that are unique to us, and really sort of build a brand around that. And so we just got underway with them last week. We had our kickoff meeting, and then we also are going to update our website. We know that our website you know, certainly it's time for us to go to the next level of our website. And it's even something the ABO talked to us about. So they're subcontracting with a company called Clever Method. That's their gig, helping especially economic development entities, create websites that are transparent, that are user friendly, that are manageable. So we've got that whole thing underway. I think it's about a year or so that this is going to take, but you know, it's important that we're working with our partners too. We don't want to have a brand that you know, everyone's got their own brand, right? Every city, every entity, that we can all sort of share this brand. And set up their businesses here, conduct business here, all of those things. So just wanted you to be aware of it. I'll give you periodic reports on it. All I have. Unless anyone has any questions.
Treasurer's report. Well, the only thing we would need to do under the treasurer's report today is to approve and accept the audit. Don't need a roll call for that. We just.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the auditor's report. Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. At this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation, and to discuss matters relating to the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio, and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Also, we will be discussing certain possible property acquisitions and dispositions, and I believe that discussing them in open session will substantially affect their value. Do I hear such a motion? Thank you. And we'll go into executive session. Yep.